I want to welcome you to the Charly Crawford podcast. Let's ride. How's it going, Bill?
Good. How are you?
Man, I'm great, man.
Good.
Thanks for
Good.
coming on.
No, thanks for having me on. Thanks for doing the podcast in general. I love listening to it.
I appreciate that. Thanks for
Yeah.
listening. And
Yeah.
it's I've enjoyed getting a lot of you guys on. You know, one of the things that I've always talked about a little bit is that my biggest like podcasts that I've had are the futurity guys.
Yeah.
I think there's so much with what you guys are doing and what you guys are doing in the industry. And I think the horses is really become a lot of people's passion, and to get to hear your guys' knowledge, you know, where they don't have to read about it, where you get to explain it. But then I think too what you guys look for in horses, and you know, I think there's so much intrigue with that it's every time I have a futurity guy on, man, it's always a banger. So I've really love the opportunity that you has come on because of what you're doing, not only with your healing that you're so known for, but man, the head horse you're producing is phenomenal.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. A lot of work in that for me.
It's a lot of moving parts, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
What have you been keeping up with? Did you go to I'm sure you probably entered the Clay Logan. Do you enter the Open there?
No, I didn't. I sold my heel horse here a little bit ago, and man, just like we're talking about, the futurities are so big, and I got so many of them. I feel like the last few years I've spread myself too thin trying to go to those and try to keep everything going. There's just too much to work at to be competitive at that level. And I mean, at those opens in especially if it's in at one time, a guy might sneak down there, but give him 3 chances. That I just don't feel like I'm prepared for it.
I think that's a great elaboration to talk about, because that's what everyone asks, like, how come I don't compete? Like, I'll go to a few, you know, enter one time.
Yeah.
Because when you think about that, when you enter one time, that limits the amount of gambling that you can take. So guys are going to take an extra swing. Guys are going to run all the way up in there. You talk about the enter 3 times, like say the Clay Logan, the Kojo. That's when the knives come out. That's when the assassins show up, you know, and I mean, like, I've got probably a dull pocket knife. Those guys come with ARs. You know what I mean? Like, it's sharp what those guys can do with 3 chances at it, isn't it?
Oh man, just like I think the Clay Logan paid 10 monies and 5 headers won all 10 monies. I mean, and it was the 5 that you expected to be in there too. You know what I mean? And nothing against, there's a lot of great headers, but there's about 10 of those guys that there's a pretty good chance they're going to get majority of it.
Well, you seen Clay Smith got 3 holes at the Clay Logan.
Yeah.
You know, him and Junior win it. You seen Caleb Driggers get 2 holes out of him.
Yeah.
You know, those guys are the assassins. They're the top killers going up and down the road. It's especially those jackpots. They come with their full stick chalked up and ready to go.
Yeah, that's for sure. For dang sure.
Yeah, I those are the funnest to watch for sure for me. But I seen where Clay Smith and them guys, they killed it, him and Junior. But then talk a little bit about the Solo Select. This is a new jackpot. This is the first one where the Solo Select partnered with Clay Logan.
Yeah.
Where they started bringing some of the futurities to the jackpot that Clay Logan puts on. And you and Osasha, and it's Uno Furiosa.
Yep.
A 4-year-old mare that already has a lifetime earnings of 152,000.
Yeah.
Maybe actually more than that, but so explain to me a little bit about the Solo Select and kind of how that futurity works.
So it's a stallion incentive based futurity. Being it's the first year, if you bought a breeding to one of the stallions that stay in the Solo Select, you're eligible to show a horse in their futurity. Now, obviously, you bred that horse this year; it's not eligible to show until 2030. So they was kind of in a way letting you proxy in a horse for now. And you know, the next 3 years, I suppose, will be the same way. I'm sure they'll have a different format as far as what horses are able to enter. But this year, if you had bought a breeding, or the owner had bought a breeding, just like in my case, I don't own the horse. Shane Boston, Southern Ranches, they had a breeding to Biggs there, obviously, so they got to show Sasha in that place. So they'll do that for the next few years. Then come 2030, the only horses that will be able to enter will be the horses that are by one of the Solo Select stallions. Yeah.
And man, she looked good. I think I watched the first round. Jackie and I was watching it, and we was watching a bunch of horses go. And when you went, I'm like, that's the round. Like that
Yeah.
was it. The score, the run, rated, stayed up so good in the corner, and then just finished and everything being tight with ridiculous smoothness. It was like you could see a difference. You can see it right then and there.
Yeah.
And it was, and then I didn't realize till I started just looking her up. Like I didn't realize she was 4.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
phenomenal.
She's been an amazing horse, and I actually last year I didn't win anything. She wasn't quite ready, but I showed her at the Old West in July of her 3-year-old year.
Wow.
And again she wasn't ready, but I made some all right runs for a 3-year-old, and that's kind of I'm not an advocate for showing a 3-year-old, but she kind of had a chance, and the owners wanted to go, and honestly I showed her 2 times as a 3-year-old. The best case scenario, I think my healer, I showed her at Fort Worth. I think my healer missed the first one, so I was done. So I got to run one on her. So a little bit of a season deal. Then the Old West, I think I run 3 on her. So it's not like I really hurt much. It's kind of like practicing away,
Mhm.
away from home. But she's been special the whole time, man.
Yeah.
Like just,
Yeah. What a win for 100K
yeah,
in
yeah,
futurity.
yeah.
You know, now there's 2 of them that pay 100K, between the
Yeah.
Old West and now what Solo Select is doing.
Hmm.
The the futurity world is starting to get some numbers behind it, some money behind it, where
Yeah.
it's
And
starting to get to where it's profitable.
the cool part about it is just like the solo deal. It's the added money comes from breeding, and
Mhm.
now that I'm sure the first year a lot of people didn't quite understand how it works, but then that they've actually paid it out, what's it going to be next year? You know what I mean? I would like to think they're going to sell quite a few more breedings, to up that added money, and same with the Old West, their sale and everything. It's just second year, you know what I mean? What's it look like in 5 years? I don't think it's going to weaken any at all.
Especially with Melody Smith in there. I mean, she's a gangster. She is.
Yeah.
She knows how to move things around, and no backup in that girl. So,
And two, I mean, obviously her and Ty both very business minded, and
mhm.
work hard for the industry, but they have a lot of really good people around them too, just like that horse. See, they bought that third edge horse, and I was reading about all the partners that partnered up on that deal. And it's like, I don't know them all personally, but a lot of great people, but freaking heavy hitters in the
Yeah,
business world. You know what I mean? They've built businesses themselves. Uh, they know what's going on, and they savvy the whole deal. And you see a lot more of that, just like Southern Ranch and Shane Boston. They've built a great breeding program down there, but he's not just an old rancher. You know what I mean? He's built big businesses and still runs them, and it's cool to see those type of people behind the industry
yeah,
that are
absolutely.
driving it. You know what I mean?
They really are. They're really driving the futurities.
Yeah.
What about old Joey? I seen Joey knocked another hundy out of him over there on the hillside. What is it?
Um,
Don't Stop Tracking? Is that the horse that you won
yeah,
dealing on?
I think so. I'm so tired of that guy. That's dang. I'm
I got on the
tired.
Cowboy Channel the other day, and I got to bust his chops a little bit on there, just because it's fun,
Yeah,
and it's
it is
easy.
fun. It is fun. I'd like to. It's kind of one of those deals where he's real easy to talk shit to, but I can't because he just freaking kicks my ass all the
I know.
time. And I'm like,
I know.
I want to be that guy one of these days that whips his ass and just rides to him in the arena and tells you like, I got you, I
I got
got you.
you.
Yeah. But man, he's great.
I always have him help me at the fraternities because, like, I just enjoy him. I enjoy laughing. It's always gonna. And then there for a while, like when the fraternities, I didn't understand it, so he was kind of coating me like, "Here's where you got to do here, maybe a little bit more comeback. Run to the end of it a little bit longer." Like he'd kind of help me along a little bit and stuff. And so I enjoyed having that on my team a little bit
Yeah.
of kind of learning a little bit of what the judges were looking for to kind of help me a little bit along. But you know the amount of times he roped legs for me when we were rodeoing, it was so much fun too, because then when his fraternities show up, he would stab a leg here and there and stuff. And then I remember one time he didn't give me the putter throw, but he dang sure got a leg, and he's throwing his head back, and we're just going side by side to the back end. He looks over and like, dang it, Chuck, I can't believe I roped a leg on that one. And I just looked at him and I said, I can't believe you didn't rope a leg.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. It
And they
was
just
at
laugh all the way out the back end.
it was at Fort Worth after Utah, and he did so good at Utah, and he come up, and I think he did good at Fort Worth. But either way, he's kind of, God dang, what they don't like about that, and complaining this and that. And he wrote up to me saying that. I said, "You shut up right now. I don't, no bitching out of you.
Done. All done.
None. One horse show, you don't win first 4 holes. I don't want to hear anything. You shut
Exactly.
up."
Know your audience.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I'm not listening to it. No, sir.
It's so funny.
Yeah,
Gosh, that guy's can do some work with them horses. It's cool to
yeah,
watch.
it really is. Yeah,
Man, thinking about, did you watch the Kojo at all last week?
I watched a short round. Yeah,
That freaking Driggers, man. Gosh,
and
dog.
I think everybody probably knew it. I don't even know what the times was, but you see those two guys at high callbacks, you're like, man,
Done.
it don't matter if they got to be 3-2 or
They will do
just
it.
catch. They're
They'll
going
figure it
to,
out.
yeah.
You
they'll
think
be
about
fine.
Jade Corkle back there, what steer could handle that he hasn't seen? What steer can do anything that he hasn't learned how to make that shot work?
Yeah, yeah, and
Such
both
a
those
full
guys,
bag of
yeah,
a rope bag that there's nothing in there that rope can't figure out how to get 2
yeah.
feet in.
Especially in a high pressure
Mm-hmm.
situation. Both those guys are freaking seem to be.
Yeah,
They
I
don't
think
drop
I've
the ball
seen
very much there.
no, and I
Yeah,
think I've seen where Driggs just this year alone, I think he's at 885K for the year. I think cash and prizes.
yeah. I read that deal too, and the thing he won the BFI, the Lone Star Open, the Kojo season
Season
high
leader,
money winner. Yeah, I mean, wow.
American.
Yeah, the American too. That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I do
yeah.
remember this winter starting out. They didn't win much. It was very unlike them. And you're like, man, I wonder what's going on. And apparently,
The adjustments were made.
yeah, apparently they had pissed him off, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Man, what a cool deal to be able to see though, like the old George Strait coming back. It's
Yeah.
awesome what Kojo's doing, bringing that style of jackpot back to the industry where there's trucks, there's trailers, there's big money, there's that was the ropings back in the day. That was some of the top ones. At one time I remember the George Strait paid 100,000 a man, and
Yeah.
trucks and trailers. Those are things that those are big hits for
Yeah.
team ropers.
It's kind of sad that some of the kids coming up, never got to go, because back in the day, man, you go down there to the Rose Palace and these 600, 700 teams and sweetest roping ever. You just
Mhm.
look forward to it so much, and
Yeah.
and uh, and I'm thankful that they're Kojo and all the people behind all the great ropings and Clay Logan, all them, they're kind of bringing them back to where there's some cool stuff to go to.
Yeah, I think when you start bringing the Western industry, the big hitters of our industry like George Strait, Kojo, those are some of the biggest country names in Nashville and in the world. And so when you start getting guys like that are putting these team ropings on, that are giving away trucks and trailers, but it's kind of putting team roping on notice in a way we couldn't do by just having a
Yeah,
jackpot.
yeah,
So, who's to say who might be at one of those tables in the next few years?
yeah, 100%.
That what like Kid Rock's doing, who knows when you go to the Kid Rock rodeo, who all's sitting in the stands on the sponsorship side that wants to get involved with what he's got going on,
Yeah,
that we wouldn't have been able to get those people in the industry what those guys are possibly doing for us.
yeah, yeah. It's a cool thing to be a part of. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Just to kind of make it cool again. You know what I'm saying? So back in the day, before my time even, I think it kind of was a pretty well known thing, and then for whatever reason, it kind of gets lost, and to see it kind of coming back, it's pretty sweet. I think.
Yeah, especially for team ropers, 'cause that's
Yeah,
a that's a hit. That's a hit right there. And then what about? Did you see I seen the head horse and the heel horse of the year and the PRCA drop? Did you see those?
yeah, yeah. I don't figure it was any surprise to anybody on the head horse of the year. I kind of pay attention a little bit. It seemed like Clint rode that horse everywhere. I mean, he's great anyways, but one horse did he say he rode transmission at one rodeo, I think. But Joe got the rest of them.
Yeah,
How do you even compete? I think, I think
and
everybody agrees with it too.
and looked the same on every run.
Yeah, that
Of
horse.
course, I'm watching the highlight reel on Facebook, but
Yeah,
what I
same
mean?
here.
He's hitting the start, rope goes on tight, the horse stays up through the corner at the end of the year. That's hard to do.
Well, and what was it over the fourth? What did they go 9 for 9 or 11 for 11? And St. Paul, well, Prescott, that's not close. And then Cody and he was at every one of them and go 10 for 10 or 11, whatever they did. The voting should have stopped right there, probably.
Yeah. It might have, yeah,
Yeah,
but he
yeah,
still just finished the year. But yeah, his head horse, when he looked at Speedy, when he had Bob and he had Viper, with what Clint Summers has between Joe and then transmission,
yeah.
there's some dang good head horse flesh sitting right there. That
Oh, yeah.
when the situation arises, when you've seen transmission at the Governor's Cup, I mean, this is just a small glimpse of what he's going to look like and how good they're going to set up at the NFR behind Jade.
100%. Yeah. They're going to win a lot. I was talking to somebody about that the other day, and I was like, man, you, I don't know who to bet on, but it'd be hard to take them out of the equation for sure.
Yeah. He's just got such a good style. His swing's so tight. He stays moving forward. His horses don't move through his throw. They keep going straight till the slack comes. And then they let off just enough as they step out where it just melts that corner, but they still stay up enough to finish. And in that building, when you got such it's such a tight left wall, if they hit it all and drop, then it's so hard to get them put back up.
Yeah.
All those little things take a tenth or two here, and they just don't do that with him.
Yeah, yeah.
That good of a jockey.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think his swing is tight swing, fast swing, tight horn shot. I mean, those horses don't even have any time to get their shoulders down as fast as he's getting it off.
There's a few headers that I've seen that I've watched at that level that really do a good job of riding from the back to the front, where they're using their feet and that swing stride to keep them horses pushed under them. And watching it now, I'm so envious because I rode them from front to back. When I'd throw, their head dropped, so did their shoulders. Healer, good luck. You know what I'm saying? Like, so envious of watching how good the riding has become amongst those top guys, where that's a huge part on how them shoulders stay up through that corner. Is how good you ride them from the back of the box to the steer. And that dude is really good at it.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
What about Kobe Payne's heel horse? That sucker, both of them, honestly, but.
Yeah, I honestly didn't get to see him run many steers this year. That horse, how long has that horse been great for? Double D had him back in the day, and then Rich had him. That was 6 or 7 years ago. It seems like, maybe longer, maybe not that long. I'm not sure, but he's been good a long time. I mean, like you say, I'm sure. I don't even really know who else was in the mix, but as good as that horse has been, and as much as Colby won too, I know the partner swap there in the spring, and I don't know what people may or may not have said about that, but freaking, that's pretty badass for him to go from Clay Smith to, nothing against his new partner or whoever he roped with. I don't even really know, but good for him. You know what I mean? To come back and rally all the way through. Yeah.
Stayed healing.
Cool. Hey, friends, if you're looking for something that inspires grit, creativity, and good old-fashioned hard work, you've got to check out Ezra Tech Ranch Gear. This isn't just another brand. It's a group of homeschooled teenagers who are learning to enterprise, building real skills, and producing high-quality gear that stands up to ranch life and beyond right here in Texas. Each piece is hand-tooled by these young men and women themselves, and the craftsmanship speaks for itself. Their truck scabbard? It's their top seller. Rugged, practical, and built to last. If you're looking for something unique for your business, they even create custom corporate gifts with your company logo. And here's what I love. Every purchase not only gets you gear you can count on, but it also supports the next generation of entrepreneurs who are learning what it takes to work hard, create value, and build something meaningful with their own two hands. Whether you're a rancher, a business owner, or just someone who loves quality American-made gear, check out Ezra Tech Ranch Gear at EzraTechGear.com. To get a 10% discount, use promo code CHARLY10. That's CHARLY10. EzraTechGear.com, where craftsmanship meets enterprise and the future is being built one tool at a time.
Yeah, and you think about that horse, I think it's called Cut Off My Spots.
Yeah.
And then not only that one, then he's got the one that came from Patrick.
Yeah.
I mean, that dude's got two of the baddest heel horses in the industry.
Yeah, 100%. I wonder, can a rider only nominate one horse? Can you put both in there?
I know it. That's no lie. Well, man, let's talk about. I want to just kind of break down this mare you're riding. Gosh, dang it! I mean, not only that, but then some of the other arsons you have on the head side. But man, talk about Sasha, right?
Yep, that's right.
So you picked this horse out of the Triangle Ranch. You and Shane.
Yep, Shane Boston. Yep,
So this horse came from the Flag Ranch, correct?
that's right. Yep.
So you went up to the Triangle Ranch, went up to that sale. First off, when you were looking at her and looking through the horses, what caught your eye? What was it that made this horse look like a head horse to where you're like, man, I think this could be a game changer.
I'll be honest with you. I don't really know. I just seen a picture of her. That was it. And I see the way she was bred. And she kind of short back, looked like she tied up high in the shoulders and up through there, and her hocks were underneath her. And uh, and two, the Flag Ranch was new. Not new to me, of course. I knew who they was, but at that time, I was really paying attention to their bloodlines. You know what I mean? Because Renan had some of them horses that he was winning on, and I think Trevor may have had one or two by this time. So I kind of seen a little bit of them, and I just freaking in that picture the way she stood up there and just it looked like she tied in uphill and her hocks were underneath her and her back was short. And I was like, man, that I I liked her, and honestly, I told Shane that's when you need to buy it. He went up there and bought three of them. So I just called somebody and bought three of them, and uh, yeah, she's. I don't know. I would like to tell you that I just had this one little thing that I just loved about her. I did. I've learned a lot since then what to look for now, but there was just something about her that caught my
What
eye.
do you feel like you've learned since then?
Oh, just more so on the breeding. I've seen a lot more like it go to the Flag Ranch this year and look at some of their colts. Like I know a lot of their siblings and I know a lot of characteristics that they might have. I didn't have any idea how any of the. She's by Bobby Starlight. I've never even seen one of them before. I didn't know how their temperament was, or how they wanted to do things, and then yeah, more so still the same. I want them uphill. If they look high headed damn near in the pictures, I'm going towards that more so than one that looks flatter.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest thing. And then you can just kind of watch them move and tell some more how much they drive up underneath themselves and keep going back to how elevated they are in the shoulders and all that.
How much now? How old was that horse when you bought her?
Yeah, we bought her. I think that sale was in January of her 2-year-old year. She hadn't been started or nothing.
So how hard is it to tell that young? Is there some characteristics a little bit when they're that young that you can kind of tell they're going to grow into, or they kind of have it and that's going to stay with them? Does that make sense? Because
Yeah,
with a 2 year
yeah,
old, sometimes it can be hard, can it? Or
yeah. I think the way they move is one thing that you're probably not going to train on. It's not going to vary too much as the training comes. You know what I mean? But like that mare in particular, she was wild as heck. Like she would grab her butt, not like in a mean way, run off, but until she was about three, you couldn't even if a horse loped by you in the arena, she would grab her butt and try to run off. And I rode her outside a bunch, and at this, I kind of like that too, especially in the head horse one that's a little bit watchy and a little bit feely and stuff. So yeah, I don't mentally. I think that's the things you don't know yet. You know what I mean? You can kind of see the way they move around, but you don't really know how they're going to take stuff mentally, and
Mhm.
that's a big thing. I think for everybody, but for me, it's like even if they're built a little flat or they're doing this, however they're built isn't perfect, you can kind of somewhat train around it. You know what I mean? But some of the mental stuff, that's just is what it is. They're either good or they're not. Kind of.
Yeah, I always look for willing. It
Yeah,
seemed like
yeah,
if they were willing, then a guy can accept whatever their ability is, and there's ways you can find to put them. But
yeah,
if they're scared, then they're going to get in their own way. Then if
yeah,
they're counterfeit, they're going to try to mess you out. So you're
yeah,
just trying to figure out what their mentality is. When you're talking about the mental
yeah,
side of it, that seems like what it is. I've always been. Anytime I felt anything willing, it was hard for me not to buy it because if it had any ability at all, there's places that you could use them.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
but
yeah,
man, if they were scared, it's like, okay, can I help them get confidence through this? Because scare doesn't always necessarily bother me too much if they're scared and willing.
well,
But if they're scared and then constantly overthinking and getting in their way, then it seems like that's costing you money also, it feels
yeah.
like.
That mare, and I'm learning this, and I've learned a lot. But that mare would always come to me and listen to me. Like when she get in trouble or something, she might grab her butt and run off, and then you could feel her like, just tell me what to do, I'll do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just tell me what to do right now, and I'll do it. And she's gentle now, and she's quiet. Like, I'm not too much like this, but like she's my bud. You know what I mean? If I walk into the stall, she'll come up there and let me rub on her. You go put the head stall on her, she'll rest her head on your chest. You know what I mean? Like,
She's sweet.
she's really come to me like that, and that's something that some horses, they don't want to be your bud, don't want you to help them, and she just like kind of looks to me for the answer. You know what I mean?
It
And I
seems
think
like
that's
when
part of the process too, the training
yeah.
process. I think that can be trained in them too.
I
I know.
think there's something because I've seen it with Joe a little bit. I've seen it with my dad a lot that like the horses loved him,
Yeah,
and so then you had that trust because this, I've always heard that like horses are meant to be led.
yeah,
And so if the leadership's good at the top, then they want to follow you,
yeah,
but if it's a dictatorship, then they're always scared and, kind of like then that's when it seems like the trust is not there. And that's when they're overthinking. But I've seen so much of it. Looks like when the horses just love their owner, there's a
yeah,
relationship and a bond that they trust the leader.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's a real thing too. My wife Ivy, she's one of the best I've seen at it. You know, she's had great horses, obviously, but she's really good at taking a pretty good one and making them great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 I've got a wife that has that tendency as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I seen her somewhere. It says, Charlie been riding that head horse while you're gone? She said, no,
Uh-uh.
we don't do that.
Nope. Nope. Having me around is like having two of your best men gone. I used to work for Tyler, man, and he's like, I'd come in there and write all the stuff, and go leave, and he's like, one good thing about having you here is it gives us plenty of work to do when you leave.
That's funny.
Yeah, that one's cool. That one's got some cool moves, and she's gonna be special. I like
Yeah,
that one too.
yeah,
And then I seen too in September you won the Texas Best on her as well.
yeah, yeah. I think I won second a couple times on her, and then I won second on her. I won
Oil
first
can too,
somewhere
maybe.
else too. Yeah, Oil Can. I think I
Mhm.
won. I don't even remember. I've won a lot on her. She's done really good. I can't even think but one or two places where she did win anything. She's that horse, man. It's fun, but literally, if I don't screw it up, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. And I don't even gotta have her at her best. And I'm not being arrogant and saying that. She's just that good. Like whenever we won the first round down there, because the format, it was a clean slate format at the solo select, clean slate in the finals, and so I was like, man, I'm just gonna she don't really do anything bad, but I'm going to keep her free and running all the way in there and waiting on me and stuff. Then the short round, I can kind of turn it on a little bit. The first one, literally, seeing a little extra, run up there, let her level off. I roped the neck, turned off, faced. I'm like, yeah, it felt good, but I didn't then win the round, and it kind of messed me up a little bit. So I'm like, well, why would I even press then if that wins the round? You know what I mean? I didn't know what to do in the short round, but that's just how she is. I mean, just completing the run, she looks fancy doing it, and she does a good job at it.
That's what is cool about a horse that can do it naturally, where you don't have to try to
Yeah,
ride it in them.
yeah. You don't got to
That's when you think a
fabricate
guy
the rest.
can kind of let it happen, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Well, just like in the short round, the steer was stronger, and again, I would not like I was pressing or anything, but it just kind of made me be a little bit more aggressive, and I think it looked really good, you know.
Then I seen at the oil can you won the heading and the heeling, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's
Yeah,
been, it's been a good season for you this year, hasn't it?
and it has, and it's been fun because I got Bonnie Freckles T4 that belongs to Bart Hunt. She's 6, and then I got another mare SJR Diamond Eve that's 5.
And this is on
Dixon
the head
Flowers.
side, correct? This is
Well,
just
that the first one was the head horse, and the second one was the heel horse. But those are the only two horses I have that are over 4.
mm,
Everything else, because I had the Notorious Big and DF Betty's a Legend last year that I won a lot on, and then I got those leave, and it's kind of like, well, shit, I don't know if hopefully they're good enough, and then to come back with a bunch of 4-year-olds this year and be competitive, it's been rewarding and a lot of fun for sure.
yeah. So talk about some of the arson just you have just in the head side, because I've seen it a lot, and you had Jackson Tucker get on for you over there, and you guys ran through one at 4-4, and I almost wasn't sure if it wasn't Sasha because they're
Yeah,
gray and they both work the same.
yeah.
What horse is that?
That horse belongs to Barton Tanner Hutton, H4 Ranches down there. They raised her. They sent her to me. sometime in her 4-year-old year. I want to say springtime or 4-year-old year, and maybe Justin Moss roped calves on her. I'm not sure about that, but I think he did. And then I got her and started heading on her. Man, she's been great. There's been a couple little soundness deals where we had to give her time off, but she's the same deal. I think I win 25-30,000 on her out there at Utah, and she can do whatever she wants to do. You know what I mean? I rode her at Utah, and Ryan Hutton, Bart's son, picked her up along the way over there. He rodeoed on her all summer. Then pick her back up, and I'm like, well, she might be a little quick or whatever. And it was just like nothing changed. You know what I mean? She's a special horse for sure. She could go on and be a rodeo horse, jackpot horse, or whatever.
We said Sasha, she was a Bobby Starlight and a Plan for Fury.
Yeah, I'm a daughter of Fury of the Wind. Yeah.
And then that one came from the Flag Ranch, and then this one here that you're just talking about that that I seen Jackson run rope on at Lawton. I mean, scored good, hit the lane on the way in. When he roped, horse kept the lane until the slack came, and was just everything was just right there and set up. And then, like I said,
Yeah.
both horses looked the same. It was wild that there wasn't. I mean, to me, that's a lot to do with training and the fact you can tell when someone rides one that they're going to have a certain characteristic because that's what's trained in them. But
Yeah.
it looked awesome. What is that horse bred like? Because that horse kind of has a little bit of a rodeo look to it as well.
Yeah, and she's kind of bred that way. So she's by a horse called Freckles Ranger, and I don't know a ton about that horse. I kind of think Bart and them own that one, but I'm not positive either. And then she's out of one of them old Twisselman mares. That I don't even know what her name is, but she's off the Twisselman Ranch. So some of them old pick and shovel horses that you've seen around, she's one of those deals. So
what other head horses do you got in the lineup for this year?
This year, so I got one more that I've won pretty good on. There's a 4-year-old bay. His name's One Time Pick. He's a Flag Ranch horse also.
What's he bred like?
He's by One Time Honor and out of a daughter of Six's Pick. And
I like them
I won the
honors.
Yeah, he's been great. I won, I think, Buckeye on him, and then honestly, all spring he would win first in the round, and Sasha would win second at the oil can. Whenever I won it on Sasha, I was high callback on him and broke the freaking barrier. But he's a big horse. Like he's 15-3 and can really run, and like I broke the barrier on him a few times this spring, but he's big, and man, off the corner he would be so sharp. It was hard to judge. It's hard on them head horses because like you'll start the first round and they kind of leave, and you can trust that they're going to stay, but you don't know how they're going to leave, if it'll get sharper, if it'll stay. And I kind of like in the first round, I would see the start, I would see the same start in the short round. Man, he just gets stronger and faster every time. But that's a special horse. Ryan Grindley owned that horse. Shane actually had him. Then Ryan Grindley owned him, and a guy named Brett Telford from Washington owns him now. And he had got hurt right after Utah and had to take a month or so off. So Amarillo here in a couple of weeks will be his first show back, and I'm excited about that. He's a really good horse. Yeah.
Because I had Larry Rice on the podcast, and it was fun picking his brain, talking about the kind of the science behind what he was looking for, because he was kind of ahead of the curve for a lot of things on, from the racehorse to the cowbreds, breeding them head horses, a long time ago before it kind of got popular, it feels like. And, it was fun talking to him when he was looking at, race horses, and he said that one that might leave the gates and blow by everybody, but then lose it within 300-400 yards. Those ain't the race horses you're looking for in the long distance. But he's like, that has a head horse look to it.
Yeah.
And
go ahead, sorry.
No, just like I loved watching like through his eyes what he would see on how he would try to like, okay, then now you go through the mares, and then also too is, what mare, whether it's a race horse or a cow horse, can handle the breeding.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that was a big deal. The cowbred horses can, be tougher, I think, and rebreed sooner and handle heat and certain things where the race bloodlines might miss a cycle or two here and there because it's harder on them. And, then you think too is, the intelligence of a cowbred horse, that's what I've always heard a lot of guys talk about too is, those are that's a lot of the intelligence comes from the mom. So having that cowbred in there, because that's who they're hanging out with, for the first 2 years of their life. So it was interesting picking that brain and seeing some breeding behind it. And like I say, now you're seeing so many top level horses with that Flag Ranch brand on their hip.
Yeah, and I was talking to a customer of mine about that the other day. Me in particular, I don't know a lot about the running bred horses. You know what I mean? You see some of the barrel horses around and this and that, um, and I was talking about going to the flag ranch and buying some of them. And I said, man, obviously their horses speak for themselves, but more than anything, he spent 15 years, and I think he'll agree with this, messing it up to get to where he's at. I was like, so for me to go buy one that I don't know anything about, I can't guarantee you anything. But if you go here, I think we have, our odds go up so much better because the time has been put in by Larry, and I enjoy talking to him so much. Just the same stuff he was talking about. It's like stuff that I don't know, and it would take 20 years to gather that knowledge,
100%.
and to talk to a guy like him and to be able to see what he's seen and stuff is pretty sweet.
What about the buckskin that you sold Cody Snow? They call him Diamond Billy. Is that right?
Yep, SJR Diamond Billy. Yep.
That one was cool, man. I loved it when
Yeah.
you were riding him. When I seen him, I think I first seen him maybe last year. Cody Snow was futurity on him, and I remember you riding him before that. And
Yeah.
same thing, man. The horse was just beyond his years.
Yeah. So that's kind of a funny story. I was still kind of rodeoing a little bit, and Shane Boston said, "Hey, I got a head horse. We need to get him going. Want to show him a little bit." I'm like, "Sweet. What is he?" He says, "He's 5 years old. Just take him." And this is in November. He says, "He's 5 years old. Just take him and get him going." Well, I'm at his house in about February, and we're looking through some papers. In February, I'm roping on him, like we're fixing to show him. And I'm flipping through the papers, and he said, "Well, there's that buckskin horse." I said, "Well, that horse is just coming for." And he said, "Well, that's him." I said, "You shit me. I thought he was 6." He said, "No, that's his papers." I was like, good gosh, I just put this note to him in about 4 months as a 3-year-old, and his it's kind of makes me, maybe I should do that to all of them. I don't know, but he was that type of horse, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. And then you go through a little bit of sweat stuff here and there, but there was never any major problems, and again, just very willing.
Yeah. He looked it, even
Yeah,
out there on the road.
yeah, yeah. He don't want to be bad, man. Sometimes his emotions would get the best of him a little bit here and there, but
What was that horse bred like?
he
Remember?
was by seeding diamond and out of a daughter as smooth as a cat. So all cow horse.
All cow horse.
Yeah.
We're talking about the head horses. What about the heel horses? Because that has been your bread and butter for so long. From making the NFR and 2016, 2017 on the heel side. I believe Coleman Proctor both those years, correct, was
Yeah.
heading for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
BFI champ on the heel side. I don't know how many times your horses won BFI horse of the day. So, the heel side has been something you've been so strong on as well. What are some of the horses that you've had this year on the heel side?
So I've won the most on a mare called Halle Berry. She's by Metallic Cat out of a Shiny Spark mare. Southern Ranches owns her too. Shane Boston. Yeah, she's kind of been that horse. I just don't mess up and I'm gonna win. I don't know. I've won a bunch on her. I was second call back at Utah and I messed that one up, but literally every time she's just a special horse. But she was really tough coming in. It's not like she wasn't as willing as all the other better ones I've had, but it was like I never did any, I like to call it creative training. It wasn't nothing more than running steers. You know what I mean? Just show her over and over and over, and then finally one day she just got it. It was like
Yeah.
since it was like she wasn't very good. The day she got it, she was finished. You know what I mean? It's just almost how it felt. They're finished as a 4-year-old could be. But she's been really good. A mare called DF Legends Pride and Joy, which is a Stevie Ray Vaughan out of a mare we had going to be a legend that Dixon Flowers owned. We raised her. Brad Alden Harris bought her, and she's a good horse too. I've won a little bit on her, and she's just kind of been the one where it's been bad luck. I think I've lost my rope on her a time or two, and then barrier here and there. Maybe we've won 15 or 20,000, but those have been my two best 4-year-olds. And there's a mare, SJR Diamond Eve, that Dixon Flowers owns. I bought her as a 4-year-old for them. And I've won 40 or 50,000 on her probably this year. So those have been the three. And then there's a little stud horse called Emoji that Oscar Morales owns down in Midland. And I've won pretty decent on him too. He's been a good horse. But then those about the four main ones that I've been
Yeah.
showing kind of all year.
I think it might have been on your Facebook page, if I remember right, looking at it earlier this year. And I think maybe one horse, it was a gray horse. I forget which one it was, where maybe at the futurity last year.
Yeah,
And then
yeah, that's right.
and then after a year, maybe less, then all of a
Yeah,
sudden you could just see it. It understood its job.
yeah,
It's pretty
yeah.
cool. It was a pretty cool comparison from one to the next.
Yeah, I probably went too fast. I literally started roping on that mare in April of last year, April of her 4-year-old year. She'd never been roped on, and then I showed her at Oklahoma City at the end of May, and I knew she was green, but I felt like she was 4 years old, and she understood it well enough that I entered her, and heck, I just helped on her the whole deal, and I helped on her all this year. All Utah was the first show that I did not help on her at, and like I felt like it was time to back off and save the runs, and she's a really really good horse. I think she could be a rodeo horse. She's going to be a great show horse. Could be a brood mare too. You know, she can kind of do whatever. She's beautiful. She's a really pretty mare.
And then the American Rope Horse Futurity Finals is this year in Amarillo, correct?
Yeah, that's
Due
right.
to construction, is that correct?
Yeah, there's something like that. They didn't quite have enough room there at Will Rogers anymore with the snaffle bit, so they moved it over there.
And it's not permanent. That was just kind of a for this year. Then back to Fort Worth is that
That's
correct? After
that's
this,
what I've been told. Yeah.
I've heard that Amarillo has been great. I've heard they've opened and welcomed
Yeah,
a
yeah. I
great
think it's
facility
still
for it.
going to be really good. I think honestly the facility might be a little bit better, but there's no recreating that
Yeah,
finals over there. You know, Saturday night or whatever it is, and it's
that's true.
packed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's like the old U.S. finals feel. You know
No
what I
lie.
mean? Yeah.
No lie. So this kind of retracking a little bit, but let's talk about a little bit where you got started. I think it's cool in the fact of, you came from a spot where was it, Missouri? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that where you came from?
Yeah, Eastern Missouri. I went to high school in Owensville, Missouri, but we kind of lived around Owensville, Gerald, Rosebud, kind of the same little area right there. Yeah.
So was roping always something in your guys' blood? Did you play sports? How did your parents rope? How did team roping kind of get started?
My granddad roped kind of the whole time growing up. I had an uncle that roped a little bit, but I tell people all the time, like, yeah, I always roped and knew how to rope and stuff like that. But I played a little bit of football, like junior high, but uh, it was different over there because, like, in the summertime, we'd rope once a week, and in the
Mm.
wintertime, we'd rope once a month. You know what I mean? So it's not like it was just something you could go do every day. When I was probably 12, well, I was probably 10 or 11. I don't know why. I just got the bug and I'd rope the dummy for hours. I'd skip school to rope the dummy and you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So,
And that was with your
it was
grandpa.
yeah, 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 yeah. My granddad was the main reason for it. So he
So when did
was,
Jackpot start?
um, whenever I was 14 or 15 or something, there's a guy up there, a couple guys that would haul me around. You know what I mean? They'd come get me and take me to jackpots and haul me around. And then whenever I was 15, I got a job with a great family, the Wades in Buffalo, Missouri, vet over there. And so my granddad's one of the hardest working men I've ever seen in my life. But I didn't go to work with him every day. This vet, Rusty, we get up and rope in the morning, get up at 5 o'clock before daylight, be roping at daylight. The clinic opened at 8, so we'd run a couple pins and go to the clinic, and we'd freaking work all day till 6 or 8. We'd get home, saddle them again, run a couple more pins, go to bed at 11 o'clock, and then this guy every single day. It was no days off. That's kind of whenever I got to rope the most, and then that family's just a great family. They helped me a lot, kind of learning how to do that. So.
What did you start off doing? Did you head or did you heel?
I healed mainly. I was always like I headed quite a bit better than I healed, but I wanted to be a healer. You know what I mean? So I kind of worked at that the most. And then in college, like whenever I went to college, I healed, but like I was a 5 header and 6 healer in college, and I would head in the high numbered ropings, and then I'd heel in the 10 and 11. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of then somewhere in there. I'm a slow learner, man. Somewhere in there, I kind of got to figuring it out and got better at healing. So.
It always seems like to me that heading is the easiest to learn and healing is the hardest to learn.
Yeah.
Like I think a guy, once he learned how to get over the initial blast from 0 to 30 or however fast your horse goes, and
Mm-hmm.
once you become, the balance becomes easier, then if you got a good horse starting and they just run up there and rate and basically just the horns stay there, it's almost like roping a moving bucket. And I don't mean it,
Yeah.
discrediting the fact that heading's still hard, but
Yeah.
to get started earlier, it seems like that's because if the horns stay in the same place, it's a lot easier to be able to throw a loop at kind of a consistent target.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Where
agree.
then heeling, then it's like, especially depending on who's heading for you, not really sure where the steer's going, not really sure where the hop is, so you're having to ride and move your swing. And then now once you get consistent somewhat at getting in position, now you got to figure out how to time one up.
Yeah.
It seems like learning how to heel is so much harder to learn how to do.
Yeah.
But
Well,
then it's funny, then it gets to a certain level and then it switches.
yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I think the heeling versus heading is the same like training horses, in the fact that you don't have to run as many steers heading to figure out how to catch heading. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And to train a head horse, I don't feel like you have to run as many steers. But heeling, you got to run a lot of steers to pattern a horse or to learn yourself. Now I agree. Once you get to here, they kind of goes the other direction. But
Yeah, you
it
get to
took
that
me.
top level, then that heading gets real
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah.
The starts and the amount of coils you drop, and the amount of head horses you got to try to make sure that sucker is good enough. And it's funny how it does after a while. It curves
Yeah.
back over. When you went to college, did you head or did you heel?
I heeled at the college rodeos, and like I say, I headed at all the amateur rodeos. I
Because
got a job.
I thought I remembered you headed at the amateur rodeos. I thought I remember hearing
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's kind of. I worked for a guy one summer named Jimmy Allen. He was kind of a horse trader up there, and again, I got to ride a bunch of horses, and we would just rope all day, and he'd turn me loose with all of his horses, and I would just rope all day, and he heeled good. He was like an old rodeo cowboy, you know what I mean? And he'd ride horses all day and drive all night, you know what I mean? And we'd go to the rodeos, and he was the first guy that I kind of like somewhat, I guess you say, learn how to win. You know what I mean? Because he actually rode my heel horse at a lot of them. I had a real good paint heel horse, and I would just duck him, and he would pull to the inside, and catch every time. And that was whenever I first kind of started. I didn't ever have any money, which nobody did, but that was when I first started like putting money together, like winning and actually kind of putting some money together. And after staying with him that summer, just getting to rope a lot and kind of learn again how to win. I was like a 6 healer in August of that year, and then I was an 8 by February, maybe a 9 by March of, all within 6 months. I won. I didn't have any major wins, but I bet I won 50,000 between. There used to be the U.S. finals and the Super Bowl roping, and and shoot, I'm in college, win 50,000 in a few months. I was like, I'm good. I'm golden. Then the end of that next semester, I was broke. I was, like I say, maybe a 9 healer by that point. I had spent every dollar I had going to every jackpot, everything, and I got my butt kicked. Like I said, I'm probably 20, 21 by then, and I was a 9 for, I didn't really make any big jumps for another 4 or 5 years, probably.
Yeah, that's a pretty big spurt from a pretty short time from a 6 to a 9.
Yeah.
And then when you get to that level, once you're a 9, what did it feel like was different?
Horses, for sure. Because I did it kind of bass backwards too, and go back to like whenever I was a kid, I was, the old numbers was a 1, and then they raised my number right when the new number come in. So I went from like a 1 to a 6 whenever I was 14, or right in that area somewhere. But like literally, they was going to raise me to a 4 or something, and however it worked out. But I went from a 1 to a 6, and in my mind, 15-year-old me was like, dude, I got a crossfire every time. There's no way I'm going to beat these guys unless I throw fast. So I learned how to throw fast before I learned how to catch, you know what I mean? And then I did that all the way through high school, and I couldn't win. Then whenever I got to spend the summer with Jimmy and watch him, he wouldn't miss, you know what I mean? And he pulled the inside, and I learned that once I figured out how to catch, and then throwing fast was kind of almost easy. And it was easier now because I rode a good turn now and seen it sooner, you know what I mean? So that paint horse, he just wasn't fast enough, so I got rid of him, and I traded horses around for a long time. And I could win, at the amateur rodeos and stuff, but still there is no big licks whenever you're a higher number like that, unless you win, with the U.S. finals or something. You're just kind of scraping to get by. And then I got with Dixon Flowers. I started working for them, and they had a mare, that going to be a legend mare that I was talking about, that the 4-year-old that I ride this year. That's the first, I'm going to say, dang sure good open level heel horse I had. And I rode her her all the way through the first year I made the finals. I was rodeoing on her still. I had Kevin too at the time. We had bought him from Clay Logan, the little black. But those two horses right there probably really, they made me rope better than they made my partners. They made me get better partners, I guess.
When did you get those two horses?
Legend, like I said, that had to be 2012 or so, 2011. I started working for DF, I think, in 2011, and they had her then, and so right around then, 2011.
So you're
And
still
then
amateur rodeo and circuit rodeo and heading and heeling, or just now you're
I,
just a
I
heeler?
literally headed and heeled and practiced. Like that was my horse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Legend was. I'd do it all on her, and then you know, a couple years of riding her too much, and I think she got hurt one time, and that kind of was like, I need to do a better job at this, and then she got hurt again. That's why I bought Kevin. She got hurt, and I actually went to Odessa, sealing for Jesse Stipes. Yeah, it was, and I went to Odessa. And I had a 4-year-old and a 24-year-old that I borrowed to go down there, and we roped to the jackpot. It's entered twice, and the 4-year-old run by the first one, and then I never caught up on the 24-year-old. So I was like, all right. I borrowed Jake Long's horse Colonel at the time, and we placed in the first round, and I bought Kevin on my way home that day. So
What did you learn when you rode Colonel? Because that horse, I mean, that was a heel horse.
yeah, and I,
There's a
you know,
feel to that. What did it feel like? And you're like, because I remember the first time I rode Pook's horse, Richard E.
yeah,
Gurns, and Jason Stewart at the time had, those are some of the two best head horses in the late 1990s, early 2000s. And I was like, yeah, there's a whole nother level. It was, they say, I think one of the great quotes I remember hearing, sometimes you don't know what a good horse is till you rode a good one. So
yeah.
like when you got on that one, what was the light bulb and what did it feel like? And did it kind of change what you're looking for in heel horses?
Well, I kind of knew the horse had a pretty cool story for DF. Whenever I started working for DF, they had Colonel, they owned Colonel and Legend. And I kind of just knew there, and they were relatively new to the horse deal. And Jake Long had just made the finals, so he gets to come by and take his pick of the two. And we're riding them. And I had rode Colonel a decent amount, and he picked Colonel. So, um, and at the time he was kind of green, so but I got to ride him a lot throughout the whole thing, and man, just the way he could get up around him, he was tighter than heck for me because Jake, he just
Pros.
would, he would keep him fast, and but man, that sucker, it was like running into a wall. Whenever the corner come, he wasn't getting too far down the arena. You know what I mean? It'd come up, and it kind of give me that feel of kind of a Jake break push to your throw type feel. You know what I mean? But that was a great horse. He let me on quite a bit, and it's pretty fun to ride. One of the greatest ever, probably.
So then you started working for Dixon Flowers. Then you started kind of getting some horses under you, and this is 2012-ish. And
Yeah.
so what was the journey from there to 2016?
Just amateur rodeoing, and we bought and sold horses. That was kind of the DF deal then. We didn't really breed too much at that point, but we'd buy and sell a lot of horses, and I would take a few to the quarter horse shows, and I like going to those. I got to go out and help JD quite a bit. Got to be friends with them, and just kind of trade some horses. And we had some decent horses back then, but we'd go buy $5,500 horses and get them gentle and get them going and sell them. You know what I mean? But it allowed me to get to run a lot of steers and then just jackpot. I was probably like any other early 20s guy. You know what I mean? I'd rope all day, and then if there was a jackpot or an amateur rodeo or whatever, I would take off and go do it. But yeah, that's kind of what it was like. Just getting those good horses and learning how to win again. I still didn't have a lot, so I had to rope, damn sure for money, and kind of learned how to jackpot a little bit better and got better partners. And it's just a ladder, every year it was like I got a better partner, my horse got a little bit better, I got a little bit better. Just every year just kept climbing. And the year before, I guess 2015, I don't remember exactly how it all worked out, but I got to rope with Coleman at the circuit finals, and we ended up winning the average and winning the year end. And then I got to rope with him at Kissimmee. So after that, we kind of started jackpotting a little bit and stuff. And then
When you were talking about those stages from 2012 to 2015, when you talked about the learning to win, what was a lot of those categories in? What was it? Riding? Was it learning the reads? Was it what was what was it that you felt like was teaching you to learn how to win?
Um, just not getting in my own way. Probably, like I say, I felt like I threw too fast. I made a lot of dumb decisions. You know what I mean? I would press at the wrong time, and and I remember back then, me and Jake Long was pretty good friends, and he's like, "Dude, your problem isn't getting the rope around the feet. You know what I mean? You know how to do that, but you got to ride better." And then two, being around JD and Jay and going to some of them shows and helping them, I think all that kind of played into to just riding a better corner and not doing stupid stuff, just making good decisions. And that varies, I know, a ton in saying that, but that's pretty much what it boiled down to for me was, I like to say, I wanted to throw fast. I kind of caged my aggression a little bit, you know what I mean? Know when to do it, know when not to. Um, yeah, that's kind of really, I know that's pretty vague, but that's
No,
pretty,
but there is. It seems like that there's the ones like, all right, man, I need to slow down. I need to slow down. Go catch this one, and then you go do that, and it's like, yeah, no, you don't do that at this rodeo. Like it's
exactly,
fast. It's fast.
exact,
Okay,
yeah,
all right, all right, all right. The next one, I'm not double thinking. I'm not going to overthink it. Then you go over there and get called out for crossfire. Well, it might have been Dodge City as a three hit. Damn. Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah,
So you're
exactly,
saying Phillipsburg's tough, and then Dodge City is okay, three hit average. Okay, so I mean that's what it seemed like I was at my for the longest time too. Was
yeah.
like when I decided to press was the wrong time. When I decided to let up was the wrong time, and so you're trying to figure out when and where those times come and how to manage it. And a lot of times to me that sometimes that's just where that experience comes from, just being out there long enough.
Yeah, 100%. I it seems like nowadays whenever I do my best or whatever, like whenever I let the throw come to me or let the shot come to me, it seems like whenever I do the best, and it was kind of that whole process I learned. Like I can't, especially as a healer, I can't create a whole lot here. I can't rope him until he turns him, and whenever a person kind of lets go of that, of the idea that I really have very much control over this. Whenever you don't, whenever you kind of turn loose of that, is whenever I kind of got better. Like, hey, I know I'm broke, but I can't heal him until he turns him. And if he turns him too slow, like, yeah, you go ahead and throw fast, but that still don't mean you're going to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it got to, I rodeoed with Adam Rose probably 13 and 14, and I liked roping with Adam, but the plan was for me, I knew he turned a lot of steers, you know what I mean? And it's one thing to rope with a bomber, you know what I mean? But how much better does a healer really get if he turns in 1 out of 4? You know what I mean? I'm like, Adam Rose, I think we can win. And this guy's going to allow me to practice at the rodeo. You know what I mean? I get to work on it. I roped with him for 2 years, and we rodeoed a lot. I think this is pretty cool kind of stat. We won the just circuit rodeo, but he won the Great Lakes Circuit year-end header, and I won the Prairie Circuit year-end healer. We went to enough of both the rodeos for both of us to win the year-end. So we run a lot of steers, and I knew there was value in getting to turn in a lot, just getting the reps, and that was probably a big thing because Coleman may not have roped with me because you know what I mean. But
Yep. I
whenever
think
whenever
that's
other headers get to see you turn in and you
yes.
catch a lot, that's huge,
I
huge.
think for all the young healers out there, that's probably the most frustrating thing to go through because there's so many things, like you said, out of your control. And
Yeah,
so, you're up there wanting to win, wanting to win. Well, then going with, like you say, the mad bombers, then you only get to throw a few times. And then, or somebody young that doesn't know when to throw and
yeah,
when to hold and when to fold them as well. And then I think what you talked about was there's nothing I think better for a young kid to have some experience at the front end that may not be as aggressive but is consistent to where
yeah,
you get to learn how to heal enough and they're going to show you where the ropes are and tell you, okay, this is going to be a tough rodeo, be ready for it, this one's going to be easy, back off. You got some
yeah,
guidance, kind of having that quarterback walking you through the play a little bit, and then kind of learning too is like, all right, maybe my partner missed it a little bit, missed the star a little bit, here comes a little bit of some rope. Okay, I can still make something happen and have a chance to win.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
suppose they just weld the barrier on the loper and they hanging on them right there. Okay, if it ain't just right, I can take one more and still
yeah,
probably either win the round or place. And
yeah,
that's where it takes so many reps and having somebody like you said that's just consistent enough. Or then if you're seen as a healer and if you have the good horse and you have a good style and you have a great attitude, those guys see that. And
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's the best way to get picked up,
yeah.
like what you said.
I kind of like again. I knew I could win with Adam back in the day, but that was like a big, big factor for me. And a young kid starting off nowadays, I think the same deal. I mean, y'all want to rope with the guy that can win first every time, but man, there's so much value in getting them reps. You know what I mean? You can run them at home all you want, but whenever you get to turn in a lot, man, you get better. Your horse gets better. You get seen more. It's just so much more to build off of that.
So you and Coleman started roping in 16?
Yeah, I actually roped that winter with Kel Markham. And just how it goes, me and Kel are great buds, still are. And I told him, we hadn't won a whole lot. We'd maybe placed a little bit. I told him, he's headed to Austin to the rodeo. I said, man, it's going to be my last one. I'm going to rope with Coleman. And then I went Austin with him. You know what I mean? It's our last one to win the rodeo. And it was kind of a quiet ride home. But yeah, me and Coleman started that spring in California. That was like the first time I'd been to California and stuff. And it was a good year. We didn't have a lot of success right off, but man, we kind of got to rolling there throughout the year. And
You had Legend and Kevin at this time?
yeah, that's right. Mainly at that time, Legend, and she had been kind of sore, and two, she would get pretty tight back then because I threw fast, and that was a huge deal for Kevin. Kevin was probably the first horse that I had that like could haul butt up there and like let me see the first hop, but then stay hooked up until I wanted to throw. So that probably helped me a lot too. But though I mainly rode Kevin, but Legend was on the rig too.
So what was that year like? Because it's pretty cool, I think, when a guy goes what you're talking about, and then you hit that wall when you're a 9. Because then okay, now the real learning begins. Because before you can learn how to catch, then you learn how to catch, you get pretty confident, and catch more. Well, then okay, now you're open against some of the best that can all catch and win.
Yeah.
So then you go through the process of the winning and learning how to win at rodeos and the top level, and now you're in the mix. Now you're amongst the best guys in the world. What was 16 like all the way to the NFR?
Um, you know, Coleman had that horse Carmen back then, and it really was like we won. I think it was that. No, that may have been 17. It was just pretty. I'm not gonna say we killed him, but it was pretty consistent. All year, kind of rocking and rolling. But Coleman had less money won than me because I won Austin with Kale, and he had less money. And at Lewiston, I remember I think I had 64,000 when we placed at Lewiston, and everybody starts giving you the pat on the back. You know what I mean? And that's the first time I've ever been to the Northwest. So make the finals, and people's telling me this and that. And then Coleman doesn't have enough one, like so. And we unofficialed Lewiston, so that didn't even count for him because of his count. So it was kind of a battle, and it's pretty cool story. We just draw it up. We go to Stephenville last rodeo of the year. He's got to win, I think, third or fourth or better, which would have been like 4-7. We traded around where he's one of the last teams out or whatever. And he's got to be 4-7. And we draw a steer that runs left and checks off, and he freaking stepped over there and Coleman rode Booger back then, which it was just a duck, you know what I mean? And I got in a bad spot. That steer checked off, and I go by, and I'm just like, Lord, please let me. I throw two coils and freaking healed him, and we go 4-6 or something. Coleman makes the finals. That's probably one of the coolest, most pressure moments that I've ever been in. But that was pretty fun to do that for Coleman. Coleman trusted in me, throw up with me my first year, then to kind of seal the deal for him. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, those are ones you'll never forget. When a guy pulls it off at the end, that's like a game winning run, or a game winning touchdown pass in the back of the end zone with no time left on the clock. Those are legendary things a guy will never forget.
Yeah.
And then what was your first NFR like?
Not that good. I think we won 30 or 40,000. I honestly don't quite even remember what I didn't rope very good. I roped some legs. We placed maybe in a couple rounds, and then there at the end, I think Coleman missed a couple. And I just didn't rope very good. Just plain and simple, honestly.
What was it like when you first got there? I'm sure everyone told you it's faster, this and that. Did it feel like when you guys practiced? Did it feel like it was anything close to what it was when you got there?
The steers, especially that year, were so big. They were huge. And I rode Kevin. I tell everybody he's 14-1. He's 14. He's 14 hands. Kills him dead. And there's steers in there. I'd have to pick my tip up to get over their back. I felt like it was like, and the same deal everybody says. The gates open and just gone.
Tails are on fire, huh?
I couldn't get down the arena enough, which Kevin's pretty cowy anyways, and it felt like I was trying to heel a buffalo in a round pen. You know what I mean? It's just like I could not get around them fast enough, you know? And then it got to where I was just trying to do whatever. I'd be swinging in the box, and I'm just trying to get my rope up, get something going here, and it did go that good.
What about the next year? You grew up with Coleman again the next year, make the NFR again as well, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
adjustments do you feel like from your first time making it was put into 2017?
I prepared a lot different. I think I practiced so much because that's kind of the fun part, right? You know what I mean? I
Mhm,
rode my horse.
mhm.
I had the panel set up and the whole deal. Then the next year, which I get it for a header, but for me, I don't even want the panels. I want my horse. I want to be able to follow them through the panels. You know what I mean? Is my thought. I know there's a little bit of rhythm there. A guy needs to practice in it, but I didn't do as much of that stuff. Um, I think Jade said it one time. I read it somewhere. Like, yeah, you might want to prepare, but healing's healing. You got to ride the same turn, and yeah, there I got to get out of the box faster, maybe get a stride further down the arena. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't change that much for me. And like being my second time, and I just kind of let loose. I've just healed steers. You know what I mean? We didn't have a great final, so I think we won third in the average. We won 90,000 or 100 maybe, or maybe not that much. I don't know, but it was significantly better than the year before, and I wrote pretty good. I felt like at that one.
And then now that you've become a futurity trainer, what was kind of the decision you feel like, when you've been rodeoing this long, and then now it feels like you're all in on the futurities, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what was kind of the deciding factor you feel like once you decided, all right, I'm rodeo cowboy, now I think futurity is going to be the direction I'm going. What was the deciding factor you feel like?
Well, I honestly think I always loved the futurities. Like I said, the horse shows as around it, and the first year they had Fort Worth, I had three colts, and then the futurities wasn't even a thing. You know what I mean? But I had three horses that were under six that I was riding, and I was rodeoing a bunch, but I could ride them. And then I went to Fort Worth. I think it was 16 or 17 when they first had that. I don't remember, but I ended up winning it. So then I was like, man, that was fun, and they're having it again next year. So that first year I took three horses. I placed three times inside the top 10. The next year I took 14 and I won, placed on one. You know what I mean? And then rodeoing and the whole deal. And I love the idea of doing that. You know what I mean? And I got horses and I had people behind me to help me do it.
Because it seemed like the horses you always had when you're rodeoing, because Kevin he won a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
won a lot of accolades. So what
yeah,
you've always rode before in the past through your rodeo career was something that really stood out, that you had good horse flesh under you before even the
yeah,
futurities kind of become popular, it seemed like.
yeah. So I like that deal, but man, and too, after I didn't make it 18, um, then it turned into like I'd like the futurity deal of it. I'd like the business side of it. But I can't not rodeo because I didn't make it. You know what I mean? So the next 4 or 5 years was just that to me. You know what I mean? I probably never even said that to anybody, but it's like I can't not make it again. You know what I mean? And I think I was in the top 20 every year after that. I was 16th, 17th, 19th, 20th, all the way until 2023. I think I don't. I know I didn't really want a rodeo, and I got into the winter rodeos, and I had bigs then, and a few of them show horses, and I roped with a different partner at all the rodeos, and all the winter rodeos rode with Pedro, whoever. Either way, I kept winning. You know what I mean? I'd win, and I'd go home, and I'd ride horses, and I didn't enter over the fourth at all. I stayed home, went to the horse shows. Then after uh, that year, after Fort Worth is 4th of July, you got a month or so off, so I went and rodeoed, and I rodeoed quite a bit, but it was like I just kept staying in the top 15, and just fall was coming. I had a bunch of horses at home, and literally we'd been rodeoing. I had a bunch of horses, need to go home. Dodge City was going to be my last rodeo. We went Dodge City, and about the next day, the books closed for Canby and Caldwell and all that. And I wrote with Curry Kirster, and I'm like, man, this is going to seem really dumb, but this is my last chance. We left the house and we drove from Nowata to Caldwell, Canby, Moses Lake, Billings, Rapid City, and then drove back home. And we won a little bit. And Ellensburg week, I was 15th. and there was a horse show at Guthrie, and I'm like, no, I committed to these people. I'm going to the horse show, and I'm 15th in the world, and it didn't bother me one bit, like not at all. And I was like, all right, I think I'm good with turning loose of it now. You know what I mean? And since then, I've kind of circuit rodeo and stuff, but I'm just super blessed that the futurities are taking off where they was, because I could have been just like a lot of people you see, just beating a dead horse trying to rodeo whenever I really didn't want to. You know what I mean? I love it and all that, but I was torn between two deals, and to finally be able to turn loose of it and be good with it, that was a kind of a big deal for me.
So you doing so well at the rodeos as a healer, and then now futurities, and rode both horses on both sides. What do you feel like some of the differences between getting horses ready for the rodeo or the big jackpots compared to the futurities?
Um, my heel horses, I kind of felt like my heel horses was a lot like me, and I'm probably don't even need shouldn't be the one to give this advice, but I don't feel like the way I've been around a lot of the greatest guys ever practice with them and stuff, and everybody does it different. But I did learn the one thing that they all have in common is they believe they're doing the right thing, whether it's the same as the next guy or not. They believe in it, right? And I believe that, like, I don't have to rope fresh steers every single day. I don't have to do it. Now, if I get ready to go somewhere, I need to see it. My horse needs to see it. We need to kind of be in tune with that rhythm a little bit. You know what I mean? So that's kind of, I'm still a big go slow guy. Keep everything not pulling on you, just simple and easy. And then as it gets closer, like for me healing, I need to see the feet hit fast a little bit. You know what I mean? Because the first time I do it's when the money's up and they start hitting fast. I'm just like, holy shit, I ain't seen that in a minute. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But if I'll just kind of get that rhythm a little bit, it feels pretty good to me. And I think our horses are the same. I don't think we can. Some guys do, but for me, I can't go run 10 or 15 strong ones every day and have my head or duck them every day. Just can't. It's not how it works. So just as I get closer, just kind of see the feet hit fast, the timing, all that stuff.
I remember
And I would,
one. I remember one time when I took a few of them to the futurities. Yeah, I'd gotten so dull with my roping,
yeah,
because you're almost like, for me, they were young and green, and you're just almost Jihan for a little while,
yeah,
and then, like, I remember I went to a few jackpots, and I was like, my eyes would water, and I
yeah,
couldn't tell you if I was 5 seconds or 7 seconds. Like, my internal clock got so wide that, I mean, there was just not much feel. And so I remember this, like, before the futurity one year, I was like, I had to get on my wife's horse and a few guys' horses, just to, like you said, just chase a couple runners. Remember what
yeah,
it's like to ride aggressive again, and like throw
yeah,
head loops and get the timing. Because there's so much, I think, where, like, for me, like, once I train the horse, and it's good, you got to be able to put that in them too. But then I think sometimes, like, just getting in that habit of remembering, like, your feet have got to be able to get timing and feel to help that horse out.
yeah,
And when I would go slow so much, my swing is slow, my feet would dull, and then it would just draw them back down. And then, like, I got to remember, like, just getting on a few horses and riding aggressive again, and just getting that feel again.
yeah,
Then when
yeah,
I would get back on them, because that's what I was going to ask you too, is like, in your training program, some of the hardest things, I think, too, is to learn how to, when is the peak out time? When is it that you want them just right, and just so when they go there, they're scoring good, but their feet are moving, but then you didn't do that too early, or you didn't just do it too much where you blew them up. So how do you try to keep your horses where once you get to the futurities, they're peaked out and then they're ready to go?
Um, it's tough questions. I mean, I'm still figuring it out all the time. But as far as the speed stuff goes, and especially now this time of year, I feel like now it's just having them rode down. You know what I mean? I've trained them; they've seen the speed enough. But I'm a big like earlier in the year when they're real green. You know what I mean? Like I'll say my practice sessions a week before, I've gone a little bit fast, but like I'm gonna run one on him, a fast one, and I'm gonna go realistic. If it feels good, I don't. I kind of like. I'm gonna trust that's how it's going to be whenever I go there. So I'm not gonna run any more fast ones. You know what I mean? And of course, like head horses, it's going to be a little bit different off the corner and stuff like that. But they're just going to have to be green until they're not. As far as that goes, I'm not going to fix that at home. I don't feel like without tearing up. If you think about the scorecard, I can get them leaving off the back of the box, but it's going to screw up a lot of other maneuvers too. You know what I mean? So I kind of go about it like that. And same for the heel horses. If I'm practicing and get ready and I go fast, from the very first time I ever go fast, if it feels good, just trust that it's going to feel good the next time you go fast. You know what I mean? So that's kind of honestly a big deal for me, because too, as much as I do want to win and whole thing, I'm not a guy that, I don't want to sacrifice this horse's whole career for this year. You know what I mean? Because um, even if I just like the horse, but for the owners, for the whole industry, that does nobody any good. You know what I mean? If I got an owner that's got a badass horse, and yeah, I win a couple that he smoked and he's done forever. Well, those two shows wasn't enough to pay for this whole deal. You know what I mean? So we got to have a product that's left at the end. And, um, I guess that's my answer. I don't know if peaking them. But yeah, you got to peak them. I understand that, but it's kind of like I try to peak them a little bit every day. You know what I mean? And you don't have to go fast. You don't have to go full contact to make them a little bit better in some areas. So I don't know. That's probably not a really good answer either, but that's kind of what my theory, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I've seen some to where, I mean, I've taken them to where, I scored some on them, ran one. And then when I got to the show, like he scored too good. Cause I'm like, damn, okay, I
Yeah,
scored too many.
yeah,
Then it's like, then you're trying to get them ready. And then, then I've had some of them to where they were doing good. And then all of a sudden when they got to the show, they were almost a little bit tired, and not as
yeah,
spicy, and so
yeah, yeah,
it's almost like just knowing your horse enough to know. And it takes a few futurities probably to find a little bit of that. Cause now that some of these futurities are going, I think a lot of your regular futurities is where you're kind of finding where that sweet spot is, because the guys really wanting to make sure that when the solo select shows up and the old west shows up, and then Amarillo here in a little bit at the American Rope Horse Futurity, when the money's big, you want to make sure, guys seems like he wants to make sure that in the best of his ability can make that sucker just as spicy and
yeah.
showy, but then also controlled as well.
Well, I think too. Man, I'm getting 2-year-olds right now. You know what I mean. So whenever I go show them in February, it's been a year and a half. It's not like I've just had them for a few months. You know what I mean. It's been a
Yeah.
year and a half. And another, I think it's helped me be successful this year is I bought a place in Arizona last year
Mm.
and getting to ride all winter. And then two, man, I'd take them suckers. I'd go to a different arena every other day. And right there where I live, there's 6 arenas. If somebody's bringing the steers up, hell, I tried over there and rope with them for a little bit. You know what I mean? So they had been hauled. I've spent a lot of time with them, um, and at when it comes time to show them at that point, like I believe in them in some form or fashion, or they would have been cold. You know what I mean? I try to not take any horses that I don't believe in, because again, it doesn't do anybody any good. So once we've got to there, man, like the time's been put in, the work's been put in. I've hauled them around a little bit. I've pressed the whole deal. It's literally just for me, just trust that it's going to work. And if it don't, great. You know what to work on when you go home. You know what I mean? Especially the first couple shows, you just gotta fix what's broken and just keep getting better. You know?
Yeah. Well, that explains why you don't have too many rain days then if you're heading over there to Arizona
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
wintertime,
yeah.
that
It was
that
awesome. Last year I got there. I got there February 8th, or not February, November 18th, and I left March 29th. We took 3 days off because it was windy. It was like 20 miles an hour, and if it had been 20 miles an hour at home, we'd have been getting to it. But yeah, we had a little breeze, so I had to take the day off.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to share something with you that I'm very proud of. As a clinician, my goal has always been to give you the tools to get better, and that's exactly what I had in mind when I built my online course, The Basics of Roping. I've got over 2 hours of instruction, everything from a frame-to-frame breakdown of the swing to dummy drills that'll get you ready for just about anything in the arena, plus tips on rope selection and care. Think of it like a clinic you can carry with you. You can pull it up anytime, anywhere, right from your phone or computer. Just head on over to charlycrawford.training, click on the course tab, and get signed up. Let's keep leveling up wherever you are.
So when I always kind of like to talk a little bit about a lot of the young trainers coming up, because I think that's what's going to be important a lot for our industry as well. Is the more money that starts becoming in the industry, there's going to be people, I think, that eventually they're going to look, okay, do I want to rodeo for a living and try to go down that route, or now that if I rope pretty good and I ride pretty good, do I want to go the futurity route? And so there's kind of some different business models, I think, a little bit when you think of like a young horse or a young trainer could follow. Some guys have a lot of horses, some guys have a few horses, some guys ride for themselves, some guys have owners, some guys ride outside horses. What do you think for a young kid that might be thinking about going down this road of being a horse trainer and a futurity guy? What are some of the business models you think of that could help that kid kind of get a good start?
Well, I kind of think it's a lot like me who's starting a rodeo. Need to need to get around somebody if that's truly what you want to do. Go get a job. You know what I mean, with one of them trainers, and go put the time in, and all about guarantee you, if you go to about any of the trainers, you work hard, and you show them that you work hard, you are going to can do a good job. Before you know it, you'll be showing some for them. You know what I mean? You'll be showing a non-pro horse or whatever, and to the relationships that you make working for those people, you gotta, not that people should be trying to steal their trainers' clients, but you gotta act like you're gonna be training for them someday. You know what I mean? So always have that mindset of be respectful to the people you're around. Obviously, hard work, that's a prerequisite. Um, and there's so many, whether you ride them for yourself or I think a person needs to go work for one of those trainers would be the first thing. You know what I mean? Learn the business, meet the people, put the time in, and then it can kind of come to you however you want to do it after that.
I think the avenue now that they're starting to kind of create now is, we're at the first, a lot of these a lot of these categories between the pro, limited, and intermediate, and non-pro, it seemed like those were based off of numbers, like what your
Yeah,
US number was or your global handicap number was. So now it's going to have to be, you can't really just start a new judging system on how well your left hand and feet work. So now that things are going off of money won, what a great kind of pyramid for a young kid getting started. If a guy was to go to the non-pros and help with some of them
yeah,
horses and learn how the judging works and the maneuvers and things like that, and then work his way the intermediate to the
yeah,
limited all the way to, eventually you hit the top of the hierarchy. But I think how they're setting this up is a really good avenue for a young kid to be able to kind of climb the ladder.
yeah, absolutely. And two, there's a lot of money that, just like the World Series or whatever. A good limited guy can win a lot of money. You double dip into the intermediate stuff. You have a good horse to do a good job. It's better than most jackpots you can go to throughout the
Mhm.
regular year. So there's thankful for Jay and Lindsay for doing that, because just like you say, that's just the stepping stones to the next generation of people. And two, there's been so much breeding going on in the horse business, especially the team roping business in the last couple of years. There's not enough people to ride them. So if a guy would get into it, get to work, get ahead of the curve, there's going to be a lot of horses left over to be rode.
That's to me what I think what you guys are doing is providing such a service for the team roping market because we're saturated so much with ropers. There's so many ropers, and 10 years ago, not enough guys making them in a way.
Yeah, yeah,
And now making them is becoming a very high level. I think the maneuvers that the rope horse fraternities has learned to judge on has done a really good job with helping people, I think, in their training program to know that how do we get this horse scoring, where the running rate is, now the correct angle of the set and handle, because I think that's what's been a little bit different for the years past. Was you look at the AQHA horses, some of the best head horses that would win, but that's the only place they went. They
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
go anywhere else because the way they were getting judged was not conducive to what is evolving with team roping. And
yeah,
so now the way they're scoring off of the face, now the angles of where they're running rating at, now how their handles are, where they're stepping out in front and slowing them down, where they're getting the proper angle, they're staying framed all the way on the handle to the face. I think even for a green kid making horses, at least now he knows what the training purpose is for those horses to where,
yeah.
I know the hard thing is I feel like it's hard for a lot of the ropers is, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on, the upper level horses, the ceiling is getting really, really high. what these big time horses are bringing. But what do you think that's going to do? Where it's going to affect some of the guys that are just kind of getting in the industry where these things are getting so high? You think that scares people off? How is it that a guy getting started or some of the guys trying to find some weekend jackpots to go to? How do they find horses? Do you feel like now with the level that they're at?
Yeah, that's a tough deal. I mean, horses, it's cost a lot, but it's all relative at the same time. I mean, I feel so I'm doing it, but I feel bad for a young guy that wants to go buy his own place right now. You know what I mean? 8% interest, the whole deal. I mean, I don't really have a good answer. But just again, just get with the people. I think all of us trainers, for the most part, it's just kind of like sponsors. You know what I mean? Our customers are damn near like sponsors, except are, you know, we're working for them at the same time. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like,
Yep.
you got to have some people help you out along the way, and get in there. And then if not, go buy you a yearling. You know what I mean? If you're not going to do it without help, go buy you one and learn how to start it, get it trained, and just put the work in. That's all. That's all you can do, I think. Because they are. I mean, it's getting the horses. The horses have an opportunity to win so much money that they are worth a lot. You know what I mean? If they're a yearling or 2 year old or whatever, just like now, if you got something that's going to be a head horse prospect, I think you can go win at the futurities, and then I hear like maybe the go rounds at the NFR are going to start paying 50,000 or something. Maybe so. I mean,
Yeah.
look at the money that they can win, so they're definitely got to be worth something. But um, it's kind of a tough world we live in all the way around.
Well, yeah, because like for me, looking at the next futurity colt that I'll look for is, because I've got enough time for one, and I
Yeah,
love it. And the
yeah,
one that aged out this year, I'm started taking him to some jackpots and seizing him, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that part of it, and so then once he moves down the road, then the next futurity colt will come, and so like for me, my line of work is like, well, now what's that next futurity colt look like price
yeah,
wise, and then like you talked about earlier, there's got to be some profit at the end. So,
yeah,
not will I take one to go blow him up, but it'll just be to season him along through this process because the goal is to be able to have something that's worth some money at the end of the
yeah,
deal. And then for me, mine's just I just enjoy, getting to see a horse go up and down the road and see him take a victory lap. And my goal
yeah,
is I'd love to be able to see one at the NFR, that I'd started, trained, or whatever. And so that's kind of where my enjoyment is with having a horse in the race per se. But by the time a guy gives however much for one now, it's like, damn, I'm gonna like if a guy's got to give 40-50,000 for a colt at 3 or 4 or whatever you get, and he's like, how much is sucker gonna have to be worth now after 2, 3, 4 years of riding? So the fact that the NFR is getting higher, I think helps
yeah,
a lot with the fact of how much we're having to give for him this young, if
yeah.
that
Well,
makes sense.
we haven't said anything about the World Series finals either, or the Riata Buckle. What did those ropings pay last, a couple weeks ago or whatever? They were huge.
Hmm.
Couple, 80, 90,000 or whatever. The Cody Johnson, there's a couple ropings that paid 100,000 down there. Um, I think it's a lot of money, but we have the payouts to back it up
Yeah.
now. I feel like as well. You know what I mean? So
Talk a little bit about the Riata. That was a couple weeks ago as well. For a lot of the people that just trying to understand what the Riata is, how does the Riata work? What is it that you have to kind of, what horses are you looking for? How does a guy get into that if a guy's looking to be able to enter, say, the open and the numbered ropens of the Riata?
yeah, so that's kind of the same, not really at all, but it's a stallion based incentive. Your horse has to be by one of the stallions that are paid into the Riata Buckle. But the difference in that is it's not judged at all. It's all on time. But in the open, you have to ride both partners' horses have to be 5 years old or younger, and buy one of the Riata stallions. So then it's just a 5 head jackpot. Rarely down the box, whatever you want to do, and it don't matter. Just catch
It's
the
all
cat.
on time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the lower number opens, I'm not exactly sure. I think one horse has to be Riata any age. Then you can proxy another horse, which means you can ride whatever you want, but you have to own a Riata horse that's 3 years old or younger as of right now. And I'm sure they're going to shift that to where both horses have to be Riata, but that's
Just to
one.
get it started.
Yeah, that's how they're getting started. And then I believe inside some of those they have like a 5 and under, 6 and under incentive. I'm not real certain on the lower number stuff, but that's the gist of it. You got to be on a horse that's by one of those Riata stallions.
Because that's been taken off. I mean, I don't know how many guys
Oh,
come to the clinics of like, man, I'm done with the other stuff. I ain't buying anything else but a Riata horse, just because of the incentives and the programs. And I've also heard too that I think they're even giving like some incentives at the World Series finals in Vegas if you're riding a Riata bred horse.
I think they're building it up and having some side pots at all the World Series
Mhm.
opens. You know, if you pay into it, your horse is Riata. Then just look at that sale last year. Was the first year they had the sale. Holy cow! I don't know what the sale average was, but several horses over 100,000 were sold. You know,
Yeah.
one for 250 maybe or something like that.
What do you think that with the momentum of the futurities and all these things that are going on, do you think this is sustainable? Do you think this has peaked out, or do you feel like this is just getting started?
I do think it's sustainable. It's just getting started. I think. I just know, just like the Old West, and all the people behind that, the Richards, Reggie Probst. There's a lot of other people behind it that are dedicated to growing the business. You know what I mean? Jay and Lindsay Wadhams, they've done a great job from the beginning. Even, I mean, they're probably the main reason why we're even here. You know what I mean? Because back in the day, there's people have tried this and it didn't work, and they stayed hooked, got it going, and you know, between them guys being a part of it, that time Melody with the solo deal taking off, I just kind of know of a few things that are in the works that if and when they go through, and I think they will, it'll just blow what we're doing now out of the water. So I think it's going to get a lot better.
I think every business model that I'm sure that you've been around a lot of those guys now, this between Shane Boston and a lot of
Yeah,
the successful people that you've been around, I feel like a lot of those guys start with a 10-year plan, 5-year plan, 3-year
yeah.
plan, next year plan, this month, next week, today. They almost work their way backwards. What do you feel like your goals are, say, in the next 5 years with what you guys are doing with your horses and the futurity? What is your business? What do you feel like your 5-year, 1-year plan is with what you guys are doing now in the futurities?
As far as my business goes, you know, of course, I would like to get to a spot where I don't have to ride as many. You know what I mean, to make stuff work. But I think in doing that, winning takes care of all of it. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to focus on training good horses. You know, winning as much as I can, and be good to the customers. You know what I mean? Take care of them. I don't know of really anybody that's like this, but I know it's a thing. That's again to another young guy. If he's training or something, like I'm not going to ride one just to get the training bill. You know what I mean? If it don't work, tell the owner. They'll get rid of it. They'll probably get another one. But if a guy kind of squeezes them out of it, it's a bad experience. Well, then they're out. They're never going to do it again. They're going to tell 5 more people too. You know what I mean? So uh, just try to do the right thing and win. You know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of that other stuff, I can't grow without that. You know what I mean? That's just what I got to do. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember, I remember it was probably about, I forget how many years ago, maybe 15 years ago, something like that. I forget exactly, but I got a chance to go to Trevor's for the very first time. And this was when he's in his prime. This is when he's killing it. And he was needing some help at the timed event. So I went down there and he was wanting me, I was going to head for him at the timed event. So I went down there a couple times just to go rope. And I've never been there before. And I knew Trevor, but I didn't know him. And I think he rode 15 horses in 5.5 hours. I mean, just the efficiency of how he moved them in. And I'm talking about steer open horses, tied tied a couple calves to the, just flanking tied, rode a couple calf horses, rode a couple head horses. Then, as I'm getting on one head horse, as I'd head him some, he'd be riding his heel horse. And then when I would jump off my horses, he would just have a couple head horses revolving through there. Then when we'd heel again, and just the
Yeah.
efficiency on how he did it. And I'm like, I'm just gonna try to make sure, like, if I've got this guy's ear, like, the whole way there, I remember it was like 3.5, or it was like 3 hour drive up there, and I was like, out of all the questions I have, let's just try to keep it at 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to just have his ear and just wear him out. And the biggest one I remember having at the time, because I was starting burn out just a little bit, because I think I run too hot, especially back then, where everything was so laser focused, everything was so intense on winning that has a tendency to burn a little too
Yeah.
hot, which can kind of burn you out. So I'm like, man, and I'm just heading. This guy's got all these events. Like, how is he keeping from burning out? So I remember asking him that question when we were at the back end, and I remember asking him, like, man, if you don't mind, if I could ask you just one question. And he's like, oh yeah, shoot, man, whatever you got. And I said, man, how do you keep from burning out? Like, this is a lot of events, a lot of rodeos, everything you have going on, the sponsors, all the stuff he had. It's a lot he had juggling. I'm like, how the heck do you keep from burning out? And he's like, man, I just make sure I ride good horses.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like,
That's
I was
all.
kind of like one of them, like, gosh dang, man, if this is too hard of a question, I mean, like, if you didn't want to tell me, man, just tell me, like, hey, shut up, man. Don't. And it was so simple that it was complex. Like, I think I was wanting some big, drawn out, complex explanation of how he kept from burning out, and it was so simple it blew my mind in a way. And I almost kind of was like, dang, I don't think he really wants to talk about this. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's one of them things, if you don't talk about it, you don't get burned up. So, I mean, I'm trying to figure this out until the next day I went back home, and I had a few horses that I was riding that I was trying to work my way through, see if he was going to be any good, see if they could take it. And I had one of them that kept popping in the box, one of them that would run to the left, like, and you know how we were at the time, we're just getting in blowed up horses and seeing if they work. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
they weren't breeding for them. We're just trying to figure out what can match something that you have that you feel like you go in on. So you're just trying all these horses to figure out what works and what don't. And this one horse just kept ramming my leg in the left wall every time I'd score. And I just remembered, and as I'm getting mad, and it was hot out, and I just remember Trevor in the back of my head going, yeah, I just ride good horses because it keeps me from getting burnt out. And I was like, that's what he means. Okay. Yeah, this is like, my day sucks from riding these horses that aren't any good. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, all right, well, then I enjoyed riding my good ones. I enjoyed riding the good ones that weren't even good yet. And
Yeah, you
so I
look forward
started
to it.
seeing a lot of what he was talking about. And I think that has a lot to do with probably what you guys are doing, especially if you're heading and heeling, being able to ride the good ones so it doesn't burn a guy out. Because I think if a guy has so many riding 30, 40, 50 of them, which I've heard some of the programs can be a lot of quantity over quality, man, it'd be hard to go in the barn every day and look forward to getting on them.
And 100%. I finally just now, kind of this month, I've got. There's not a horse that I don't think is going to be a pretty good horse. You know what I mean? And it's taken a long time. I mean, my whole life to get to that. You know what I mean? I was trying to put a timeline on it, but up until this summer, I had 3 or 4 around there that you got to ride for people, and I'm honest with them, and we're on the same page. And they got to do something. Just do what you can, and we'll get through it. But I finally kind of got them out of there, and that's definitely. I mean, I would say I get burned out, but about Friday, it's time for a day off. You know what I mean, or a couple days, and I'm still to the point where if I take a day off, I'm pretty much ready to go. You know what I mean? And two, with these big events, that's another kind of lights a fire under you too, man. They're giving away a lot of money, and my owners are spending a lot of money to do it, and that competitive desire is still there too. You know what I mean? Like those guys that rodeo all year, they get to be competitive every day, both a couple times a day. Well, limit that to once or twice a month. It, I guess it gives you even more to look forward to whenever you do go.
It seems
That's how
like
I feel.
too, yeah, and it seems like too, like if a guy was looking at the goals in the next 5 years, it seemed like a guy would have to be looking at, when you're looking at those colts. Because if you're looking at your timeline of your business, to me, it'd be like when you're looking at those yearlings, 2-year-olds, if you're breeding, if a guy's going to get a stud, if a guy's looking for some mares, some reset mares, it looks like a guy's going to be looking to make sure that the breeding going forward is making sure that they're solo select, making sure that they're riata, making sure that the breeding is going to be the stuff that's going to give you the incentives at the end to win the most amount of money as well.
100%, and like I said, I'm getting 2-year-olds in now. We got yearlings, and then helping people decide. The early booking fees for studs are coming up. So, I think I have 40 some horses down there at the barn. We're riding 31, but I told Ivy, I mean, we manage 150 probably between which DF, we do pretty much everything with DF as far as deciding what, or but then every other little person that's in the deal, they all have a little breeding program, and we're bouncing. Not that I'm managing it myself, but like they kind of give me the option to help them pick what to breed to and this and that. And it is, and that's probably just kind of going back to the burnout deal. The 2-year-olds is probably like my least favorite time. Like I enjoy riding them, I do, but when you're roping the dummy and you got 5 or 6 of them and your shoulders falling off and you're just trying to get them to follow the dang thing, you know what I mean? It's like those are probably the hardest ones for me. But then like that's your. I just look at it like my future. You know what I mean? This is me in 4 or 2 years, and this is going to reflect in a couple of years how hard I want to do it. So even though you don't want to do it, suck it up because you got to. You know what I
That
mean? It's
is your
just
5-year goal. What you're riding
yeah,
right there.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's like it's just and even going back to picking stallions for the mares or vice versa or whatever. Like it's like a revolving door. But like shoot, I guess you asked my 5-year, which we already or 4-year. We decided that last year. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
kind of how it is. And then just I guess that goes back to me saying just putting the time in. You know, we kind of started it all, and there's just no substitute for time and doing a good job.
You know, you talked about Dixon Flowers and kind of what they've done to help with a lot of you know, your business model and your career. What talk a little bit about Dixon Flowers, because I remembered how much they were kind of in the industry and supported the industry. You know, remember that some of the team opens that they had and
Yeah,
just the stuff that they've done for the industry as well.
yeah. They've been great people to me, but yeah, just like the industry, I know whenever they kind of started, I know Dean Tufton was a big breeder and trainer in the team roping horses, but the DF, as far as a breeding program, I guess you'd say, or a horse program, I know there's a lot more, but uh, they were kind of one of the first ones to be involved with the futurity thing too. You know what I mean? Like they was the first major sponsor of Jay's, not the first sponsor, but one of the first major sponsors when Jay started that deal. And they put on a lot of open ropings and they sponsored the BFI. And, you know, they just have done a lot for the industry, helping it just get to the next level. You know what I mean? I can't really say that about the open ropings and stuff, but for the futurity deal, I know they've been big help in a lot of that, not just in sponsorship money, but breeding and selling good horses. You know what I mean? Even back to Jake Long's Colonel and all the horses that I've had to ride. It's kind of cool now because all the horses that we've bred, and you're starting to see quite a few horses with the DF brand on their shoulder show up. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they're just great people too. Duke and Lindsay Dixon, Mike and Marsha Flowers. I just I can't even tell you what all they've done for the industry. A lot of people don't even realize, but uh, you know, now they got a great breeding program. DT Sugar Checks Wiz, horse I want to get horse of the year on. She's highest producing, uh, I think highest producing rope horse mare ever, maybe now.
What's
She's,
that? What's that number up to now?
I
I'm
don't
always
even know.
curious to kind of find out what the lifetime earnings that are in some of these, because I think it's cool that they're, and, you know, for the team rep one, that's never been anything that we've ever kind of kept track of. So it's
Yeah.
cool now that we're starting to see that.
I wish I knew what Sugar's actual earnings was, but it would be a lot. But I think her progeny earnings, it's got to be near 1 million or 3/4 of a million for sure. Because just the Dark Side, Notorious B.I.G. and DT Hickory Blue Steel, they won 650 just between those three probably. So
Hmm.
she's producing some good ones. And I've got a 3-year-old head horse. He's by Epic Leader, running horse. Be the first run cow cross or run cross that we do with her. I'm pretty excited to campaign him next year. He's gonna be sweet.
Yeah, that's cool. What's the next futurity you're getting ready for?
Just Amarillo. Yeah, the
Amarillo.
ARHFA finals in
You
Amarillo.
got a week or couple weeks?
Probably a couple weeks. Yeah, we're probably we're 13, 14
Yeah.
days away or something.
When you're getting ropes ready and things like that, like head ropes and heel ropes, do you feel where there's any difference in, say, lays? You know, what line of ropes do you use? Does the lays differ, do you feel like, from when you were rodeoing to when you're fraternitying?
Yeah, for sure. And I don't. I think the heel ropes for dang sure. I use a pretty soft heel rope now. I used to use a big heavy one, and I think if I went back to rodeo, I would still use a soft one now or softer one. But yeah, I use a GT4 by Rattler. Hard medium. It's like a soft end of a hard medium. It's kind of a lighter rope. And I like that on the Colts. I feel like I can kind of, if they're a little green or something, I can change it a little bit
Yeah.
with a big old stiff. I used to use the power lines with a big stiff one of those. It's kind of, it's going where it's going. You know what I mean? But the lighter, softer ones, I can change the speed up a little bit more, and I can place my rope a little bit better.
When you were rodeoing, what lay did you use?
A hard medium too, but it was sure enough a hard medium. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
What
The
about
ones I got now, they're kind of more like a medium. I would say more probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're more like a medium now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I would say that as much as you're roping, that the shoulder has to, after a while, have to have something that'll kind of swing itself a little bit, especially all day, I would feel like.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure. I could. I don't. Last year or something, I had the power lines. That's whenever I switched. It's like it just it wasn't fun. It hurt.
Yeah.
Just tired. But the main thing, I felt like I could just control it a lot better. You know.
What about the head ropes? Because I always loved asking a lot of the futurity guys what lays they use, because what I try to recommend anyone that's 14 roping to the 13 roping down is studying the futurity, studying these guys on the head side. Following your social media, following Tay Kirkenslager, uh, Trevor Miles, Relentless Remuda, Joe when he's heading, Ren Richard, all the guys that go all the way down the list, because you guys are now roping from the same spot they are.
Yeah.
Because that's a part of the run and raise. You're running in position. You're not reaching. You're not throwing 2-3 coils. So I always love asking everyone what lays they use, because I've had some of these guys come up with a medium soft, and I'm like, dude, what are you gonna do with this? And they're like, well, that's what so and so uses. I'm like, yeah, but he throws 3 coils.
Yeah.
Like, they need the stiffness for that rope to stay open that long. But now that you guys are roping from the same place that everyone else is, from a 13 pretty much down, where they're running in position, what lay do you use on the head rope, and does it feel like it changes with horn size?
Yeah, horn size for sure. But I'm a soft guy. Majority of the time, a soft power line light soft. But if they got real small horns, I will go extra soft too. But they ain't gonna have to have some pretty dang small ones and consistently be small. Because I swing. I feel like with the soft, I swing it too fast. I'll stick it behind the right horn sometimes, or just get too much going on it. And I kind of throw it hard too. I feel like, so it'll close up on me. But it's one of my biggest fears is popping it off too, especially at a horse show. You know what I mean? Like, because it'd be real easy to do if your horse rates off a little earlier, is a little free or whatever. So I've always got an extra soft around, but if I can, I'm going to use the soft for sure.
And I also feel too is like roping a lot in the futurities, that soft is going to break down. The body's break the more runs you get. So I mean, realistically, probably by the short round, that thing's probably at an extra soft lay anyway.
It really is, yeah. And even some ropes I'll have a soft, and it'll feel pretty stiff, but for the most part, they're not that stiff. They just feel more open to me. Obviously they're stiffer, but they just stay open better.
Body.
Not really all that stiff.
Yeah. What about the 2 coils? I've never, you're one of the few guys with 2 coils. Like, you're a 2 coil guy, right?
No, I hold 3.
There sometimes looks like it was 2, and I've even heard guys talk about, like, with every once in a while when you had 2, but I wasn't sure. On the head side, you have 3 or 2?
3,
It is
4
3?
strands, 3 coils. Yeah, I'll have some big coils sometimes. I don't know.
Got it.
I don't know why.
So I couldn't remember if it was 2 or if it was 3 big ones. I couldn't remember on the head side.
Yeah. I have 3 big ones. I don't like my tail. I don't like my tail. It's probably because if it gets in that gray layer, I might get scared. So can't have that happen. I do hate whenever they step on it. Whenever they step on it, pull it out of your hand. You know what I mean? But maybe that's why I do it. I really don't have a good explanation.
Now, is it true? And I'm not going to tell you who recommended this or who brought it to my attention. I'm sure you'll know when I ask it. But I always want to know: is it true? Did you win a Ben Affleck lookalike contest at one point in time?
I don't. Maybe not. I don't know.
When they brought it to my attention, I'm like, yeah, I can't unsee that now. It's like hanging out with Ben Affleck.
It's not easy being me, man.
It's not. Yeah. I'd have to chew Bubblicious for 3 months straight to get that freaking jawline like yours. That's hilarious. That's funny, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on, man. I know you
Yeah,
guys are
thanks for
busy
having me.
riding all of them, but man, I'm so proud of what you're getting done, and
Thank you.
I love watching them head horses. You've always done such a good job with the heel horses. It's fun to watch that too. But man, with what you've done on the head side, man, it just looks so dang good. It's fun to watch those horses that run under you, score good, and then I love the corner. Like I love the fact like them horses stay straight in that corner, or they're not loading out or anticipating it, and just like your feel and your style looks so dang good. Like I know there's so many guys probably watching, because when you show up, you win, and it's not like you have a whole line of them. Like you're showing up with quality, and man, it's just been fun to watch. So it's been cool to see what you've done um, in the futurity world now.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So man, I be excited to see what you guys get done up there in Amarillo, and do good, and I know you will.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for having me on.
You
I
got it, man.
appreciate it.
Tell Ivy I said hi, and has she been going to some fraternities as well?
Um, just some barrel races now. She's
Mhm.
finally got her some young horses
Yeah.
kind of stacked up and kind of back to rolling. She made the circuit finals this year, got a good young horse, so she's kind of back to rolling and got her string coming along. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
You guys train a lot of them, huh?
well, we got a
That's
few around.
pretty cool, where you can see where one might work in one side or the other, where you got them moving in there. It's and then also too is getting, like with Jackie, it's so cool to see what her eye is for, like what she's looking for, where helps me out on looking for what I'm wanting to look for as well. So
Yeah, for
pretty
sure.
cool where you guys got the power couple duo going over there. So
Thank you.
well, man, do good, and I appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. See ya.